On August 6, 1993, when 12-year-old Holly Valbrock came over to 14-year-old Ann Stedham's house, they had planned nothing more ambitious than hanging out together. The girls often spent time with one another, so Ann's mother, Sharon, thought she had no reason to be concerned.
Annie and Holly are good friends. They like to do a lot of things together.
These are looking real nice, Mom.
This particular day, they got it in their head that they were just going to take the old car parked out by the barn to return some clothes that belonged to a neighbor.
The old car?
And I said, no, Ann, I'd rather you didn't.
I wish you would just let us go.
My mom, her no's are usually like, no, you cannot do this. But that day she was kind of lenient about it. She said, no, but it's your responsibility.
So you're taking the blame. Just get in trouble.
Ann would not be old enough to get a license to drive legally on the roads for 2 more years.
Oh, awesome.
We just drove around for a little while. Hollywood asked to drive, and so we switched back and forth. Since we had driven before on the farm, we didn't think it was any big deal.
John Valbrock is a reserve officer with the local police department, and 12-year-old Holly's father.
Holly?
It's legal for them to drive them in the pastures, but they're not supposed to get them out on public roadways. Unfortunately, you get 2 kids together, and sometimes it's what one doesn't think of, the other one will. And once you start sliding on gravel, that's it.
When we get to her house, she's gonna freak. And that'd be cool if we could meet Brandon and Aaron up in the lake. Oh my gosh! What are you doing? Sorry, it's hard.
When we continue.
You could just see the car clear over in the ditch, upside down. The top was all...
I remember waking up,
Holly?
not really knowing what had happened. And I just started yelling Holly's name. She couldn't answer me.
Holly? Holly?
I was afraid to see what had happened. So I squeezed out of the back window. I just took off running. I thought she was dying. I thought she was dead already.
Help!
Charlene Anderson lived in the next farmhouse down the road from the accident.
Help!
I heard somebody holler.
Somebody help me! Help!
The Stedham girl was in my front yard, covered with blood. You could just see the car clear over in the ditch, upside down. The top was all mashed in. And I thought there's no way that girl could live. I figured it just crushed her.
Within minutes, Chillicothe Fire Rescue arrived at the scene, including paramedic Jim Saylor.
My partner got out, and I took the ambulance on down.
You okay?
There was a lady with the patient down in a ditch. You couldn't see the face, you just could see the back of the head.
Okay, hi. Her name's Holly Valbrock.
The lady said, "This is Holly Valbrock," which was kind of a shock at first. I knew Holly.
I'm Jim.
I've worked with her dad for several years.
Take care of you, okay? Where you hurt?
Her right arm was trapped up under the car. So I reached in under to feel what kind of problem there was, and you could tell there was massive damage. At that time, I didn't know whether the arm was actually still attached or not.
Holly's father, John, and her mother, Teresa Calvert, went to Hedrick Medical Center when they were notified there'd been an accident.
Fractures and lacerations in the...
We kind of started hearing these reports that, you know, things didn't sound so good.
Patient Holly Valbrock.
When they did give her name, I looked over at Amy and Teresa, and they were both panic-stricken, and just, it was just like the whole world just stopped.
You doing all right? Yeah.
We needed to lift the car far enough where we could get the arm out. Holly was scared, she was hurting. There wasn't a lot of bleeding because the weight of the car put pressure onto the wound. But we didn't know, exactly what was going to happen when we lifted the car off.
You ran that arm? Can I help you bring that out? Okay, good.
There was massive damage to the shoulder area. Part of the bone where it fractured was sticking out. You could see the ball in the socket.
May hurt a little. Your head.
We kept telling her not to look at it. Don't look at the arm.
All right, we need the collar on. That's that arm.
I didn't think there was any way that they would be able to save that arm at all.
Anne had suffered only a slight concussion as a result of the accident.
Can you get that?
You could hear him talking back and forth on the radios, saying everything that was wrong with her. They were telling me to quit crying.
You remember what happened?
But I couldn't because the radios were saying that it was worse than they thought. And I'm the one responsible for it.
It was kind of sad because if they'd had her seatbelts on, it could have been a complete different story. Holly may not have been injured at all.
What happened?
The attending emergency physician, Cal Greenlaw, happened to be Holly's doctor and a close friend of the family.
When they brought Holly in, it was really difficult. The emotions that you have that you just don't dare let loose is tremendous.
Dr. Trinidad and meet you down here right away. By the look on the doctors' faces and the nurses' faces, of course, it's being a small town, we know them all, and you could just tell that it wasn't very good.
You okay?
I finally got to go in and see her. This seemed like forever. And Holly's such a neat kid. The first words out of her mouth was, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry."
Holly was taken by Research Eagle helicopter to Lutheran Medical Center, more than 200 miles away, where a team of microvascular surgeons, led by Dr. Jay Goldberg, would try to save her arm.
Some irrigation, please. Her skin had been torn off from about this level in the arm. All of the muscle on the top of the arm was exposed. Scissors, please. The nerves weren't severed. So there was a chance that some of her function would come back. But at the same time, there was a good chance that even if I could reestablish blood flow into her arm, that it may still not work, and that she still may lose the arm.
Over the next 2 months, Holly underwent a series of operations to try to repair her damaged right arm.
She made remarkable progress in the hospital. I believe it was a week after her first 2 surgeries that she put a pen in her hand and she wrote, "Hi, Mom." And it was so cool. We were so excited.
The top mark today.
And from then on, it just seemed like she could do a little bit more as each day went by.
Keep going.
9 months after the accident, Holly continues to undergo physical therapy.
She is doing great. She has full feeling in her arm and her hand, and she can move it, full movement. The only thing she can't do is she can't get her arm completely straightened out.
Cool. Ah, you better step on me, Holly.
It was a hard recovery for Holly. She's probably one of the bravest people I've ever seen. There were times when the therapy was really frustrating. There was quite a bit of pain. When I look back to that day that we got in the car, I just think to myself, why didn't we just stay home?
She doesn't know how to use the oven. They were big fun.
Holly's back to her normal self again. Guy crazy. She tries to be cheerful if you're down, and she always cheers you up. She's my best friend in the world.
Look at you.
I think we've become better friends over this. And we just like open up to each other and tell each other everything. Anne feels bad. Like it's all her fault. I think it was just an accident. But I wouldn't get myself in that situation again.
I woke up in the middle of the night sometimes in a cold sweat thinking of what if. I don't know if I could have made it.
Hi, Holly.
I just can't imagine life without her. She's a great kid.